So, Hunt Sabs, I thought I would look at basically a speech given by these guys and just try and see what their, motivations are. So, yeah, without further ado, let's crack on.
Now, I've been a Hunt Sab for 35 years. I did a lot of other things as well, anti-vivisection protests, anti-nuclear, anti-racist stuff.
So here we have a gentleman who calls himself Alfie Moon. Now, some of you might be familiar with that name, and the reason you'll be familiar is because Alfie Moon is actually a character out of EastEnders, and the reason he'll be using that name is because he's a known criminal, and he doesn't want people to know who he actually is. You'll probably find, it's a bit like people who do credit card fraud, he's probably had multiple aliases throughout his time, but currently, as I said, he's going by Alfie Moon. And you can tell already from what he's saying, he's also been into sort of anti-vivisection and anti-nuclear protests. Basically, he just likes sticking one to the man, so to speak. But, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what he's got to say for himself.
What these guys want to do is they want to get into the woods and they want to make a fox start to run for its life. And those 50 hunting hounds are going to chase that fox across open fields. And what these guys in the red jacket want to see is that fox being torn to pieces by those 50 hunting hounds. I've been around these guys for 35 years. If I live to be 100, I will never understand why it is they want to do what they want to do.
Now, you've been around these guys for 35 years, apparently, and you still haven't managed to learn anything. I don't know if this is sort of indicative of the sort of class war that you clearly want to fight, where, you'll basically feel a bit inadequate in your own life and you kind of want to project that inadequacy onto others. You look at the class system and you think, well, these stupid toffs are keeping me down and they're making my life miserable and it's all their fault. It can't possibly be my fault that my life's so shit. But this is really kind of the mentality of these sorts of people. Because I'll give you an indication, Alfie, of why they do it. They do it because, they enjoy it, but they also do it because it's a form of conservation. Now, you guys out there, that, I don't hunt foxes, not on sort of horseback or whatever, but I certainly won't have a problem with shooting them, especially when I get my 243 next week, hopefully. But it is, if you are genuinely interested in conservation, which, chaps like this, profess to be, they say that they're interested, then you would look at how an animal's hunted and kind of work out how it's selected to be killed. Now, most people, if you shoot foxes, you're just getting rid of a problem. You don't care whether it's young or old or lame or sick or any of those things. You just see a fox in an area. You do what you can to find out where he's going to be. You might put some carrion down, so there's like a feeding site for them, something like that. And then you shoot them. Now, if you're bothered about conservation and you think, well, these foxes, we don't want to wipe them out. We want to make sure that only the sick and the lame, etc., get killed and the young, healthy ones go on to breed and they're fine, then you hunt them on horseback because it's the most natural way of selecting the animal. A healthy fox. And I've been, I was around fox hunting as a little boy. I was sort of blooded and all of that. I mean, from the age of 6, I was surrounded by hounds. I have this vivid memory of stroking these hounds just after, they're all covered in blood just after they've ripped a fox apart. Which, they do. Yeah, they do. Absolutely. But, they don't catch a fox, generally. They catch one which is needing to be culled. And you can't do that with a rifle. That's why they do it.
They know they're going to lose, and like any dog, when it knows it's losing a fight, what it does, it lies on its back in surrender. The first bite is a waste of the belly. So whatever the hunters say about the fox dies quickly from a bite to the back of the neck, it's absolute rubbish. They die by having their guts ripped out. It is truly awful, and they scream.
Now, this I find quite particularly sort of, strange with these sorts of people, because, it is sort of what's known as anthropomorphism, where you kind of see an animal and you kind of project human qualities onto that animal and you feel, that they're thinking and feeling the way we do, and, isn't it terrible? A fox has been killed and it's screaming and it's upset and, excuse me. And it is. I mean, it is, it is pretty damn brutal. I don't know how he can profess to know that their guts are ripped out, always get ripped out first, because I very much doubt he's ever actually been right up close and personal to a fox having that done to them, simply because he wouldn't be able to get that close, because the hunt wouldn't let him get that close. But I have been, and yeah, they do grab them by the neck and kill them fairly quickly, but frankly, I don't really care if the fox suffers a little bit. That's nature, that's life. I've seen what foxes do. I've seen what they do to sheep. I've heard, rabbits screaming as a fox, plays with them, because foxes actually will often play with things like a cat when they get hold of it. They take sort of pleasure in the death, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's nature. It's tooth and claw. If this guy had actually spent 35 years apparently running around in the countryside and actually paid attention rather than trying to sort of persecute people just because he doesn't like their social class, he would know that. He would know how brutal nature is, and there is a natural order of things. And frankly, I just don't care, and neither should you.
The police are not enforcing this law. The police do not care about the Hunting Act in Britain. So the only way these guys get stopped is when the Hunt Sab shows up. Now, that little...
I tell you what the police don't seem to do, mate. They don't seem to enforce the law of aggravated trespass, whereby someone goes onto somebody else's property without permission and then tries to stop them going about a lawful activity. I mean, this really is a bugbear of mine because, I know people who trail hunt, and yeah, they think fox hunting should be allowed still, and it isn't. So they go trail hunting on private land, minding their own business, and this hippie thinks that he's got the right to just wander onto somebody's land like it's his own back garden and stop them going about doing what they're doing. You don't have that right. You just don't. I mean, what's next? I don't like what you do, Alfie Moon, so I'm going to go and sit in your back garden and harass you while you're having a barbecue with your family. Well, no, I'm not going to do that, am I? Because I'm a decent individual, unlike yourself, apparently. And as for the police, not enforcing the law, if you have a problem with that, yeah, sure, stand on a public road near to where you think this hunt is occurring, collect some evidence, and give it to the police. But currently, like I said, the only laws that the police aren't enforcing is scraping up you reprobates off people's land and making you go home.
If the video cameras aren't sufficient to stop them, there's lots of other things that we use. The key thing is the Hunt Saboteurs want to take the control of that pack of hunting hounds away from the huntsman.
Now, this is where we get a explicit admission of criminality here. I mean, this will be why, as I said before, this guy goes by the name of Alfie Moon, because, yeah, he will have served time, undoubtedly, be very well known to the police, because, taking control of the hounds, trying to get them away from the hunt, is a criminal act. And, if you think that somebody else is committing a criminal act, forget this stupid bollocks anthropomorphism where you think that somehow what they're doing because it's criminal is like somehow worse than what you're doing. You think you've got the right to also break the law? You don't. And you're just admitting it. I mean, just from this video alone, the police should be able to go around this guy's house and arrest him, frankly. Because not only this, there have been numerous cases where Hunt Sabs have done this. They've taken the control of the hounds away from the hunt, and the hunt is trail hunting. And they've actually brought the hounds onto the fox and killed the fox that they're meant to be protecting. I mean, really, maybe they should just leave the bloody thing alone.
You can see the red-coated huntsman now trying to get round in front of the running hounds and try to get in the control of them back again. Now, this little episode lasted about 45 minutes. So for 45 minutes, the huntsman didn't have his hounds under control, and all that time he can't possibly be hunting anything.
And you can see here, this poor guy, he's just trying to, do what he's doing. He's going hunting or whatever. Yeah, sure, you might disagree with it. If you do, lobby Parliament, for goodness sake. Vote, do what you want, and obviously it's illegal anyway, and they're just trail hunting, as he's quite rightly saying. But, if you want to ban trail hunting as well, I don't know, whatever, do something about it. Do something constructive. Stop harassing people going about their business, and stop masking your face because because of the shame that you feel. You obviously do feel shame, otherwise you wouldn't do it, would you? These people are, they're dressed like paramilitaries. They're wandering around on private land they've got no right to be on, and they're preventing someone going about their lawful business. It's absolutely repugnant.
We try to be law-abiding, and you lot. Yes.
We try to be law-abiding, and you lot, oh, you lot.
And you can see the sort of pleasure on his face to be sort of sticking it to the man as he perceives, the sort of posh person who he's mocking here, you know. You can see what his real agenda is, and it's nothing to do with foxes. This is why these people still exist. Why do they still exist? Hunting's been banned. People are going trail hunting. But you just can't bear that either, because you just don't like them. You don't like people who you think as being, I don't know, what, a superior social class to you or whatever. It's pathetic.
I don't care whether they're laying trails or not, actually. If they're going to kill 11,000 of their own hounds, I'm going to carry on sabbing them. The day that we stop sabbing is the day the last redcoat is on a bonfire somewhere.
So previously just saying this, he was commenting on how lots of dogs are basically, hounds are put down due to fox hunting every year. And for that reason, he doesn't care if they are just trail hunting. He'll carry on sabbing until the last redcoat is on a bonfire. And it really makes you wonder what he would go on to do after that. I mean, what is his plan? What's your plan, Alfie? I guess you'll probably start going after something else, some other social class that you don't like. I mean, this really does personify the problem with the left, because they believe that, that even though they live in a democracy, they have the right, because they believe they're so right, they believe they have the right to force that view onto everyone else, even when it's, when they are breaking the law to do so. So yeah, I mean, these are my thoughts, really. I know you guys, it can be a controversial subject, and some of you guys will be like, against fox hunting and things. And like I said, it isn't something that I partake in myself. But this isn't really about that. This is about the actions of people conducting themselves in such a way that they are basically criminals. They're, people who think they have the right to force themselves on others. And even if you're against fox hunting, you can't support this. You can't support this kind of behaviour. It's just downright wrong.